Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. This world has a good many of these demoniac natures, but there are some gods too. If one proposes to teach any science to increase the power of sense of enjoyment, he finds multitudes ready for it. If one undertake to show mankind the supreme goal, they care nothing for it. Very few have the power to grasp the highest, few still the patience to attain to it. But a few also know that if the body be kept for 1,000 years, the result will be the same in the end. When the forces that hold it together go away, the body must fall. No man was ever born who could stop his body one moment from changing. Body is the same, is the name of a series of changes. As in a river, the masses of water are changing before you every moment, and new masses are coming, yet taking similar forms. So it is with the body. Yet the body must be kept strong and healthy. It is the best instrument we have. This human body is the greatest body in the universe, and a human being the greatest being. Man is higher than all animals, than all angels. None is greater than man. Even the devas will have to come down again and attain to salvation through a human body. Man alone attains to perfection, not even the devas. According to the Jews and Mohammedans, God created man. After creating man, he asked the angels to come and salute him, and all did except Iblis. So God cursed him and he became Satan. Beyond this allegory is the great truth that this human birth is the greatest birth we can have. The lower creation, the animal, is dull and manufactured mostly out of tamas. Animal cannot have any high thoughts, nor can the angels or devas attain to direct freedom without human birth. In human society, in the same way, too much wealth or too much poverty is a great impediment to the higher development of the soul. It is from the middle classes that are the great ones of the world come. Here the forces are very equally adjusted and balanced. Returning to our subject, we come next to pranayama, controlling the breathing. What has that to do with concentrating the powers of the mind? Breath is like the flywheel of this machine. In a big engine, you find the flywheel first moving, and that motion is conveyed to finer and finer machinery until the most delicate and finest mechanism in the machine is in motion in accordance. This breath is that flywheel, supplying and regulating the motive power to everything in this body. There once was a minister to a great king. He fell into disgrace, and that king, as a punishment, ordered him to be shut up at the top of a very high tower. This was done, and the minister was left there to perish. He had a faithful wife, however, and at night she came to the tower and called to her husband at the top to know what she could do to help him. He told her to return to the tower the following night and bring with her a long rope, a stout twine, a packed thread, a silken thread, a beetle, and a little honey. Wondering much, the good wife obeyed her husband and brought him the desired articles. The husband directed her to attach the silken thread firmly to the beetle, then to smear his thorns with a drop of honey, and let him free on the wall of the tower with his head pointing up. She obeyed all these instructions, and the beetle started on his long journey. Smelling the honey before him, he slowly crept onwards and upwards in the hope of reaching it, until at last he reaches the top of the tower, when the minister grasped the beetle and got possession of the silken thread. He told his wife to tie the other end to the packed thread, and after he had drawn up the packed thread, he repeated the procedure with the stout twine, and lastly with the rope. Then the rest was easy. The minister descended from the tower by means of the rope and made his escape. In this body of ours, the breath motion is the silken thread, and laying hold of that and learning to control it, we grasp the packed thread of the nerve currents, and from these the stout twine of our thoughts, and lastly the rope of prana, controlling which we reach freedom. We do not know anything about our own bodies. We cannot know. At best, we can take a dead body and cut it in pieces, and there are some who can take a live animal and cut it in pieces in order to see what is inside the body. Still, that has nothing to do with our own bodies. We know very little about them. Why do we not? Because our attention is not discriminating enough to catch the very fine movements that are going on within. We can know of these only as the mind, as it were, enters the body and becomes more subtle. To get the subtle perception, we have to begin with the grosser perceptions. So we have to get hold of that, which is setting the whole engine in motion, and that is the prana, the most obvious manifestation of which is the breath. Then along with the breath, we will slowly enter the body, and that will enable us to find out about the subtle forces, how the nerve currents are moving all over the body. And as soon as we perceive that and learn to feel them, we shall begin to get control over them and over the body. The mind is also set in motion by these nerve currents, so at last we shall reach the state when we have perfect control over the body and mind, making both our servants. Knowledge is poor and we have to get this power, so we must begin at the beginning. Pranayama, restraining the prana. This pranayama is a long subject and we will take several lessons to illustrate it thoroughly. We will take it part by part. We shall gradually see what are the reasons for each exercise and what forces in the body are set in motion. All these things will come to us, but it requires constant practice. And the proof will come by practice. No amount of reasoning which I can give you will be proof to you until you have demonstrated it for yourselves. As soon as you begin to feel these currents in motion all over you, doubts will vanish, but it requires hard practice every day. You must practice at least twice every day, and the best times are towards the morning and the evening. When night passes into day and day into night, it has to pass through a state of relative calmness. The early morning and the early evening are the 2 points of calmness. Your body will have a tendency to become calm at those times. We will take advantage of that natural condition and then begin to practice. Make it a rule not to eat until you have practiced. If you do this, the sheer force of hunger will break your laziness. In India, they teach children never to eat until they have practiced and worshipped, and it becomes natural to them after a while. A boy will not feel hungry until he has bathed and practiced. Those of you who can afford it will do better to have a room for this practice alone. Do not sleep in that room. It must be kept holy. You must not enter the room until you have bathed and are perfectly clean in body and mind. Place flowers in that room always. They are the best surroundings for a yogi. Also, pictures that are pleasing. Burn incense morning and evening. Have no quarreling or anger or unholy thought in that room. Only allow those persons to enter who are of the same thought as you. Then by and by there will be an atmosphere of holiness in the room, and when you are miserable, sorrowful, doubtful, or your mind is disturbed, the very fact of entering that room will make you calmer. This was the idea of the temple and the church, and in some temples and churches you will find it even now. But in the majority of them, the very idea has been lost. The idea is that by keeping holy vibrations there, the place becomes and remains illumined. Those who cannot afford to have a room set apart can practice anywhere they like. Sit in a straight posture, and the first thing to do is to send a current of holy thought to all creation. Mentally repeat, let all beings be happy, let all beings be peaceful, let all beings be blissful. So to the east, south, north and west. The more you do that, the better you will feel yourself. You will find at last that the easiest way to make yourselves healthy is to see that others are healthy, and the easiest way to make yourselves happy is to see that others are happy. After doing that, those who believe in God should pray, and not for money, not for health, not for heaven. Pray for knowledge and light. Every other prayer is selfish. Then the next thing to do is to think of your own body and see that it is strong and healthy. It is the best instrument you have. Think of it as being as strong as adamant, and that with the help of this body will cross this ocean of life. Freedom is never to be reached by the weak. Throw away all weakness. Tell your body that it is strong. Tell your mind that it is strong, and have unbounded faith and hope in yourself.